Brothers and sisters, I speak to you today about a truth that many would rather never hear, because it cuts deep, because it demands more than we are comfortable giving. Dreams require sacrifices, not the trite, feel, good kind of sacrifice, the kind that costs nothing but your lip service. No true dreams, the visions that God Himself plants in your heart, demand blood, sweat, tears, and the daily dying to self. Everything of value in the kingdom has always required surrender. If you are unwilling to lose your life, you will never truly live. Let me say plainly, you do not rise to your dreams without paying a price. Count the cost is not optional advice. It is the very foundation to even begin. Every God thing comes through the furnace. You must be refined. You must suffer loss. You must break with lesser things. Many people say, I have a dream in my heart. But when it requires cutting off comfortable habits, relinquishing ease, or turning your back on worldly praise, they turn aside. They shrink back. One of the first obstacles you will face is the comfort of your present pleasures. People live in cages of their own, making cushioned seats, soft beds, screens, pleasures, entertainments. All around them whispering, stay, be content, don't rock the boat. But God will not allow that dream in your heart to prosper while you remain yoked to ease. The moment your dream begins to threaten your comfort, your flesh will scream and bargain. It will say, do this part, keep this habit, just a little compromise. You will be tempted to have both, your dream and your sin, but no man can serve two masters. Either the dream consumes you, or your present pleasures will consume the dream. You must be prepared to give up your time. Time is more precious than money, more precious than reputation, more precious than comfort. If you spend your days in distraction, social media, idle talk, entertainment, novelties, you have no time to build what matters. Great dreams demand long hours of preparation, of labor, of study, of silent wrestling with God. You must take hours others waste and invest them in your calling. While others sleep, you rise. While others complain, you labor. While others rest, you push forward. There is discipline. It is not romantic. It is daily and grinding. Expect to be contested. Every dream worth fighting for will draw opposition, from outside and from within. The enemy will whisper betrayal, doubt, accusation. Others will tell you it is impossible. They will mock you. They will laugh when you fail, maybe secretly even when you begin to succeed. But do not look at your critics. Look at your calling. When you hear the roar of opposition, know that you have struck at the very gates of enemy dominion. The contest means you are in the right battle, but contest demands sacrifice. Sacrifice of reputation, of ease, of approval. Your mind must be renewed, shaped by truth, not by cultural comfort. You must read, you must learn, you must pray. You cannot dream in ignorance, you will drown. Thus, education and spiritual discipline must be purchased with sacrifice. You will give up entertainment hours, social hours, idle busyness, to train in the scriptures, in theology, in the art of your calling. The muscles of your mind and soul must be built. You will fast, you will pray, you will confess, you will be broken in secret, you will bow your knee when your flesh screams to stand. Often you will have to abandon relationships or entertainments that pull you backward. A dreamer cannot remain tethered to those who have no vision, or worse, who are dragged down in sin. You must cut off friendships that are comfort-oriented, shallow, or toxic. You must flee from the world's seductions, those weak, by weak amusements, those addictions, those diversions that pretend to be rest but are snares. You must sacrifice them. Do you love your dream more than the world's amusements? If not, your dream will be swallowed. The cross is the symbol of sacrifice. Christ gave up everything. You too must be ready to give up. And sometimes you will suffer loss of security, financial, social, even familial support. When you dare to dream big, resources seem to evaporate, doors close, Friends distance themselves. You will walk wilderness seasons with little or no visible fruit. Some will say you are irresponsible. Some will call you foolish. Some will say your faith is misplaced. Love them but keep moving. Joseph went into prison before he became prime minister. David was despised in the wilderness before he ruled the throne. These were not exceptions. They were the rule in the lives of God's men. The greater the call, often the darker the valley. Do not despise the dark times. Often the greatest growth comes there. In the smoking furnace is where gold is refined, not on easy roads. When your dream tugs at you in the midnight hour, when you weep, when the pain seems unbearable, know that this is the very place where God is building resilience, faith, character. Your testing reveals your preparation. Endurance works character. Character births fruit. Fruit establishes your calling in reality. Don't throw away the diagnostic pain. Sacrifice also includes losing your identity as the world gives it. You must lay down what people expect of you, your comforts, your status, your plans. You must let go of the applause, the accolades of men. If your identity is in what others think of you, the moment you are misunderstood or maligned, you will fall apart. But if your identity is in Christ and your calling is rooted in Him, you find strength in hidden obedience. Your face may be cast down, your reputation may be slandered, your motives twisted, but walk the higher road. The dream God gives you is not for human fans, but for His glory. Let your reward be in heaven, not on earth. Let us speak of disappointment and failure. Dreamers are never promised seamless success. There will be failures, false starts, collapse of plans. You will be tempted to give up, to turn back, to confess that God misled you. Don't desert the vision in the first season of hardship. Remember Moses wandering for 40 years, the Lord appearing at the burning bush after decades of silence, David hiding, Paul beaten, the apostles persecuted, imprisoned, martyred. The pathway to fulfilled dreams is paved with failure, but carried by perseverance. You stand when others fall, you rise when others quit. You must sacrifice your natural preference for ease over labor. Dreams demand sweat. Dreams demand you get your hands dirty. You will wake before dawn. You will toil until late. You will bleed, you will ache. Many hear the call but shrink in the doing. They want the miracle without the midnight prayer, the transformation without the training, the victory without the fight. That is childish faith. A mature faith knows that through many tribulations we enter the kingdom. It is not whimsical, it is costly. The cross is not optional, it is central. And as you labor, guard your heart against pride. When the dream begins to show promise, when doors start to open, the flesh will dance in self-glory. You will want to take credit. You will want to rest on your laurels. You will desire to mimic showmanship. Resist all that. Let humility be your cloak. Remember, you are a steward, not the owner. The dream is not ultimately yours. It was breathed into you by God, and you will give an account. Let your posture always be that of a servant, of a learner, of a worshiper. Guard also against impatience. Many quit in the gap between the promise and its fulfillment. They grow weary and decide that what has not come by now never will. But faith does not live by sight. It lives by promise. The Lord may tarry, but He is not slow. Endure in the waiting, sharpen the sword, cultivate your gift, train your hand, strengthen your resolve. There is fruit in quiet growth, unseen roots, hidden sanctification. Just because the world doesn't applaud your journey does not mean God is absent. Expect also barren seasons. Sometimes your labors will yield no visible return. You will water, but see no bloom. Don't measure only by output. Measure by faithfulness. Faithful planting is your responsibility. Growth is God's. You give your life to the process, not to the immediate result. In barren seasons, your faith is tested. Are you faithful when no one watches, when no one applauds? This is where dreams are made real. Not in when it is easy, But when you walk through the night, you must sacrifice your fear of man. You will not always be understood. Your obedience will sometimes be mistaken for foolishness. But you must delight to obey God above public opinion. When Moses confronted Pharaoh, when Esther risked, when Daniel stood before the lions, they feared God, not man. Dreamers must be willing to walk isolated paths, unmoved by mass opinion. They must walk according to their vision, not the crowd's applause. Sacrifice your security nets. Perhaps you already have a stable job, an identity, a comfort zone. But to dream, you may need to step off the ledge. You may have to risk the known income for the unknown calling. You may have to surrender comfort in order to fully give yourself. The one who fears to risk will never taste the fullness of God's purpose. You will have to sacrifice sleep, rest, recreation. You may ask, isn't rest important? Yes. But rest is not the same as retreating from responsibility or habitually indulging in laziness. Many people live off mediocrity because they refuse to pay the price. They rest too much, they distract too much, they delay work too much. There is a rest that comes after the fight, but first you fight. You labor, you push, you burn. Only then is your rest sweet. Let me say also, the greatest sacrifice may be your own will. The dream you think you want is not always the one God wants to give you. You may clasp tight to a vision, but the Lord may have something grander, more painful, more beautiful. Many refuse to let go of their dreams when God is pruning them. They become bitter, but surrender your will. Say, not my plan, but thy will. Be willing to have your dream altered, refined, redirected, even to lose it wholly if the Master so desires. Trust him. The Lord knows better than you. He will not waste your sacrifice. Sacrifice includes letting go of convenience in relationships. You will love dearly those who cannot understand you, those who advise comfort, those who want the status quo. They will press you to slow down, to settle, to be real. Some will accuse you of arrogance. Some will demand you temper your boldness. You must lovingly but firmly refuse to be pulled down. You are not abandoning them. You are obeying a greater call. You will sometimes walk lonely roads. You will sometimes be labeled extreme, radical, fanatical. That is the lot of those who chase sacred dreams. You must sacrifice the illusion of guaranteed success. No promise that your dream, however godly, will flourish in this life in the way you imagine. The dream may not bring wealth, not bring honor, not bring acclaim. It may bring persecution, irrelevance, obscurity. But you must serve faithfully even if the world never notices. Let your reward be in heaven, not in earthly applause. You must sacrifice the impulse to quit. When the burden feels too heavy, when the path seems too steep, you will feel thoughts of quitting. Maybe I misheard. Maybe this is too much. Maybe I should just settle. You must confront those thoughts swiftly by faith. You must remember where you started, why you began, and what is at stake. The stakes are souls, the kingdom, the glory of God. You cannot afford to abandon the dream sloppily. Take hold again, press on. Run the race to the end. Greater rest, greater reward await, and perhaps the hardest of all, you must sacrifice the desire for immediate gratification. Our culture trains us to expect instant reward. But the dream that God gives you is often gradual. You are to walk steadily, patiently, year by year. You don't plant a tree and eat fruit immediately. You water, prune, protect, wait. You cultivate soil, root deeply, brace for storms. If you lust after instant success, you will surrender to shortcuts, compromise, gimmicks, and destroy your dream. The long obedience in the same direction bears lasting fruit. I tell you, when you finally see a glimpse of fruit, when your dream begins to be realized, do not forget the hours of sacrifice, the lonely nights, the tears, the discipline, Let gratitude be forever in your heart. Let humility ever guard your alliances. Let you never assume you did it alone. Every prayer, every act of sacrifice, every tear, every surrender, they all contributed. Don't despise what cost you dearly. Be careful also of comparisons. Others may seem to sprint ahead. They may seem gifted, successful. You will be tempted to envy their path or rate, but every man's journey is unique. Your timeline is not theirs. You will bear burdens they never see. You will learn lessons they will skip. Comparison will rob your joy, distort your vision, tempt you to abandon your course. Keep your eyes fixed on your calling, not on another's trophy. Let your sacrifice be redemptive, offered in prayer, in love, in ministry. Do not allow your sacrifice to be wasted on self, glory, on empty applause, on ego. Let it be offered to God for His glory, for His kingdom, for those He calls you to serve. Let your suffering, your discipline, your losses, not be for nothing. Let them be seeds in the soil of God's purpose. Dreams require sacrifice, but not aimless sacrifice. Each act of surrender, each discipline, each pain endured, is not random. It prepares you to be used, it purifies you, it disciplines you, it aligns you. It reveals that your dream is not your own, but tethered to a higher divine purpose. The dream is not merely your success or happiness. It is God's mission. Do not wander into half-heartedness. Do not ever entertain the thought that you can chase God's dream with a foot in the world. Radical surrender is required, total devotion, single-mindedness. The Lord Jesus said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even life itself, he cannot be my disciple." Luke 14:26, he meant the claims of dependency, of lesser loves, of divided loyalties will pull you from the path. Your dream demands that you be fully sold out. Let your sacrifice be consistent, persistent, disciplined, joyful even when painful. God does not call you to occasional acts of intensity and then long seasons of laziness. He calls you to a life of daily dying, daily surrender, daily obedience. Every morning you renew, every evening you reflect. You wage war over every impulse to settle, to ease, to drift. You say no to lesser things, again and again. And above all, let this truth grip you. The greater your obedience, the harder the sacrifice, the more blazing your testimony will be in eternity. Those who give richly of themselves will see richly of Christ. The cost will be worth it. The reward will outweigh the pain. You will stand before the King and hear words you never dared hope. Well done, good and faithful servant. Do not shrink back. Do not be deceived by the comfortable illusions of this age. The path of dreams is not exotic. It is cross-shaped. It is narrow, steep, lonely, but it is holy, and it leads to life. Let the sacrifice sanctify you, not destroy you. Let it make you more like Christ, not more like the world. Let it prepare you for the weight the dream carries, for the glory it reveals. So I call you today, examine your heart. What are you clinging to? What comforts have you never surrendered? What sins have you never cut away? What distractions have you never laid down? What relationships tie you where God wants you to fly? What fears hold you back? What hope have you compromised? You must renounce those. You must pull the plow. You must venture into hardship. You must take steps of faith. You must walk brave. You must persist when unseen. You must bleed when tested. You must release your dreams to the God who gave them and say, "Not my comfort, not my will, but thy kingdom." Dreamers, the cost is steep, but the cause is eternal. Pursuing a God-given dream is not easy or glamorous. It demands the surrender of comfort, time, relationships, pleasure, reputation, and personal will. You cannot serve the dream and your own ease at the same time. Sacrifice is the gateway to fulfillment. The path to fulfilling a dream will be marked by opposition, waiting, failure, loneliness, and obscurity. But those who endure with discipline, humility, and obedience, without quitting or compromising, will see the dream fulfilled for the glory of God, not for personal gain. True dreams require total sacrifice. That statement is not a cliché to be quoted lightly. It is a solemn summons, a demand placed upon the soul, a pressure that reveals the weight of what we claim to believe. To truly dream, to dream in a way that troubles the comfortable, unsettles the complacent, stretches your spirit beyond the familiar, you must give up things, sometimes all things. Anything less than total sacrifice will suffice for nothing. When I say total sacrifice, I do not mean incremental adjustments or occasional inconveniences. I mean a radical yielding, a daily offering, a perpetual crucible in which you lay down what you cling to so that your dream may live. This is not easy. It is costly. It is the way of every prophet, every pioneer, every one who dared to believe that God's purpose is greater than personal comfort. First, sacrifice of pleasure. The world is loud with diversions, amusements, entertainments, comforts of all kinds. Soft beds, streaming screens, addictive devices, the constant thirst for novelty. They press upon your flesh, inviting you to rest, to drift, to numb. But a dreamer cannot abide in the cage of ease. When your heart whispers of something higher, something beyond, those pleasures become bribes to settle for less. You must cut them down. You must say no when your flesh cries yes. You must be the one who walks away from what is easy, from what is comfortable, from what is popular, even when the crowd pursues it. Second, sacrifice of time. You have exactly the same days, the same hours, the same moments as everyone else. The difference is how you use them. You will lose hours you once wasted. You will stand at the crossroads of rest and labor, and frequently choose the labor when no one watches. In the hidden hours, on late night, you will wrestle with study, prayer, preparation. You will train when others sleep. The dreams that come to fruition are not hatched from soft living, but from tireless diligence. The discipline of your time is a wood and coal upon which your dream's fire is fed. If you hoard your hours for pleasure, you starve the dream. Third, sacrifice of reputation and approval. To dream means to risk misunderstanding. It means to invite criticism, ridicule, whispers behind your back. Some will call you foolish. Some will say you are unrealistic. Some will gloat over your missteps, delight in your stumbles. If your dream is worth pursuing, you must be ready to lose face. You must anchor yourself in a deeper identity. Not what people think of you, but what God sees in you. The crowd's approval is fickle. Every wave of fashion shifts. But your calling from God is rooted in eternity. Let their opinion fall. Let their scorn roll over you. Stand firm in the vision. You will find that sacrifice of reputation is light compared to the gain of obedience. Fourth, sacrifice of security and comfort. Many will tell you to wait, to secure your footing, to stay in safe zones. But most great things were birthed in risk. To hold fast to safety is often the death of destiny. You may have to shift from stable income, leave behind familiar settings, go into seasons without tangible resources. The walls will shake, the comfort zones crumble, but those tremors are the shaking of lesser things, clearing the way for something stronger to remain. Safety is an illusion. Risk, properly taken, is the path of surrender to your dream. Sacrifice your hedge, your cushion, your fallback plan. Let the dream drive you, not the fear of losing. Fifth, sacrifice of relationships that anchor you down. Not every friendship, not every familial expectation will help you on your journey. Some will demand you slow, tone down, settle. Some will resent the changes your dream stirs in you. Some will hold you to mediocrity. You must prayerfully evaluate what relationships tether you to the world rather than lift you toward the dream. You may have to say no to invitations, distance from voices of discouragement, limit exposure to influences that pull you backward. Sometimes you walk alone by design for the sake of vision. That is painful, but that is real sacrifice. Sixth, sacrifice of immediate gratification and instant success. Culture whispers, get famous quick, get rich fast. But dreams born of God are not built on shortcuts. The fruit that lasts blossoms after the long wait, the hidden work, the pruning seasons. Impatience will lure you into compromise, selling your integrity, cutting corners, leaning on hype rather than substance. But the dream that is built slowly with consistent faithfulness is stronger. Do not settle for a cheap imitation. Wait, labor, trust the slow maturation. In time, what you build with sweat and tears will endure far beyond what is quickly amassed. Seventh, sacrifice of your own will and plans. You must hold your dream loosely enough for God to reshape it. You may imagine a path, a certain time frame, a particular manifestation, but He is sovereign, and He may redirect. The courage of a dreamer is not only in forging forward, but in surrendering to the divine curve. When your will resists, you must die to it. You must say, not my way, thy way, not my plan, thy plan. Only a surrendered heart can bear the weight of a dream that transcends self. The moment your dream becomes a possession you clutch tightly, you become its slave. Let it be tethered to God, not to your anxiety, not to your ego. Eighth, sacrifice of comforted faith, easy religion. When dreams demand total sacrifice, shallow faith evaporates. Superficial religion, polite platitudes, safe piety. They will not sustain you through midnight wrestling, through loneliness, through naked obedience. You must be the one who prays in darkness, who wrestles until the flesh gives way, who stands when nothing seems to support you. Your inner life must be forged in suffering, tested by trial. You must break, confess, repent, return, climb again. This is the path of depth. It is not for the faint of heart. Ninth, sacrifice of ease in your identity. You may have grown comfortable with who you think you are, the roles, the definitions, the safe self. But the dream God calls you to may require you to shed your old skin. You may need to become someone new, someone vulnerable, bold, stretched, exposed. You may shed false layers, pride, facade, masks. You will allow God to strip you. You may lose what you thought your identity was so that His identity in you may emerge. That is a fierce sacrifice. Very few are willing to lose themselves for what He wants to make. But that is precisely what dreams demand. Tenth, sacrifice of the margin of safety in your schedule. Many people build their lives with margins, idle hours, buffer rest, open spaces. But a push for a dream often demands the reducing of margins. You will schedule every hour, reserve little slack. You will live close to the edge. You will accept the pressure of deadlines, the tightness of days, the grinding pace. That is not sustainable for laziness. It is sustainable only for those who accept discipline, who yield daily, who press forward. The margin you sacrifice now yields strength you cannot yet see. 11th, sacrifice of fear of man, the eyes of others, their judgment, their misunderstanding. These are tyrants over many. But to dream, especially a sacred dream, you must fear God more than man. You must refuse to be governed by applause or critique. When you obey God in unseen places, people may misread you. When you press forward in your uniqueness, you will often walk paths alone. Many will not understand, many may even hate, but a dream anchored in divine calling laughs at the fear of men. It holds firm. You must be ready to walk unappreciated, unrecognized, misunderstood. That is a sacrifice, a hard one. 12th, sacrifice of complacency. Comfort is the great enemy of purpose. The moment your dream stirs in your heart, complacency whispers, just rest. The flesh sighs, just slow down. The devil murmurs, you've done enough. But no, dreams demand relentless forward motion. Sacrifice your moments of drifting, your tolerance for mediocrity, your acceptance of stagnation. You must always be dissatisfied with shallow rest, always pressing deeper, always running uphill. You must ask, is there more? Have I shortened the climb? If your heart is quiet and comfortable, maybe you have surrendered too much to ease. Sacrifice also includes your physical well-being. Sometimes you must push your body beyond its polite limitations. You will bear fatigue, soreness, stress. Your body will groan. You may lack sleep, lack ease, lack pampering, but the dream often requires physical endurance. The body must be trained, not indulged. Many are held back by weak flesh because they refuse to sacrifice ease. But a dream worth fulfilling will demand your body, your energy, your decreed effort. You will press through limited strength. You will bleed. You will rise again. Let me say, sacrifice is not loss without purpose. Each thing you lay down, each cost you pay, even when it feels crushing, serves the dream. The cutting away purifies focus. The pain forges resolve. The stripping exposes your motives. The struggle refines your heart. Without the sacrifice, the dream turns fragile, shallow, fleeting. But with crucible fire, your vision solidifies, your heart matures, your faith deepens. Do not imagine that once you pay the price, the path becomes easy. No, on the contrary, sacrifice is perpetual. There is no retirement from the cross. Every season demands new sacrifice. What you sacrificed yesterday will not suffice for tomorrow. The dream will push you again. Each plateau hides new trials. You will always press onward, always release more, always stretch further. You must train your soul to count the cost daily. You must test yourself often. What am I clinging to? What comfort have I refused to relinquish? What boundaries have I drawn to protect ease? What compromise have I allowed? What weight have I avoided? Let the question haunt you. Let the tension drive you. The dream will not thrive in your comfort zone. You must embrace that arms of sacrifice are not punitive. They are formative. They form you into the vessel your dream demands. The church of old, the men and women of impact, they all paid, and through paying they were shaped. The scarred hand is stronger. The bent knee is steadier. The broken self is more full of grace. You must trust that the one who inspired the dream is the same one who will sustain you in its sacrifice. Let me warn you, many will start, many will speak of dreams, of visions, but so few endure. The reason is the price. They count well until they see the cost. When the first blaze appears, they shrink. When the first storm hits, they fold. When the first winter comes, they return to safe zones. Do not be many. Be the one who stays in the furnace. Be the one who does not look back. Be the one whose eyes remain fixed on the prize, even when everything hurts. I want you to see that total sacrifice is not absence of joy. Far from it. Through sacrifice flows the kind of joy that is deep, unshakable, holy. The joy of seeing a vision become real. The joy of standing when many fell. The joy of knowing you laid down your lesser loves for your truer love. The joy of hearing, well done. The joy of participation in something eternal. The tears, the weariness, the nights, the cold do not cancel joy. They refine it. They make it more precious. Sacrifice is not always dramatic. Many of its manifestations are small. Refusing one more hour of streaming, saying no to distraction, waking early to pray, walking away from gossip, going without social fun, taking the harder route, choosing the lonely path. These small acts compile, they accumulate, they become a way of living. The sum of your small sacrifices becomes the architecture of your dream. You must also guard against cheap sacrifice, acts done only in public for applause. That is hypocrisy, not surrender. The dreamer sacrifices in secret, lays down what no one knows, resists what no one sees, endures what no one applauds. The world may not notice. Let your reward be from the Father, not from the crowd. True sacrifice, especially when unseen, is the proof of your love for your calling. Do not worship suffering. Do not romanticize pain, but let it be the gateway, not the goal. The pain is evidence that you have struck at something high. Let the suffering push you to deeper faith, not bitterness. Let it humble you, not harden you. Let it make you more compassionate, more tender, more dependent on God, not more self-protective. I pray you will understand that dreams are not fulfilled by talent alone, gifts alone, opportunity alone, or timing alone, but through sustained surrender. You cannot outrun sacrifice. You cannot short-circuit it. The only way to the sum, it is through the valley, the furnace, the stripping. You must climb through cost. You must cross through the gauntlet. You must live in the tension of what is required. In every moment of sacrifice, ask, what does God want me to lay down in order to move forward into this dream? Then obey, not half-heartedly, not in your strength, but in faith that He is worthy. And when the eyes grow weary, the body weak, the heart heavy, look back at how far you've come. Recall every testing night, every tear, every throat dried in prayer. Let your conscience bear witness that you did not hold tightly. Let that give you courage to press on. If you will not yield totally, if you cling to lesser loves, to ease, to preference, to safety, then your dream will remain a phantom, a longing, an unfinished novel. But if you yield, if you embrace the total sacrifice, you will see something rise. A structure of destiny, a testimony of glory, a life of meaning, a dream birthed in suffering, crowned in glory. Sacrifice, therefore, is not the death of your dream. It is the opening of its wings. The more you surrender, the freer your dream becomes, not imprisoned by your weakness or clinging to comfort, but empowered by your faith, sharpened by trial, governed by heavenly purpose. Let your surrender be radical, your obedience total, your endurance unwavering. Let the cost never be too heavy for the dream that haunts your soul, that beckons beyond the horizon, that calls you into sacred purpose. Faithful perseverance through pain is essential. I want you to sit with that phrase until it burns in you, not just as an idea to nod at, but as a reality you must carry in your bones. The road of dreams, of purpose, of calling, if it's rooted in what is real, what is holy, will bring pain. It is not if, but when. The question is whether you will persevere steadfast, unshakable, faithful. Through that pain, many begin in faith, but they falter when hardship arrives. They are excused by suffering, silenced by discomfort, silenced by tears. But the work of God demands perseverance, and the promise is for those who endure. Pain will come in many shapes: betrayal, loss, failure, broken expectations, opposition, isolation, sickness, fatigue, doubt. Sometimes it is visible, sometimes invisible, sometimes it is sharp and sudden, sometimes long and grinding. The man who dreams must understand that every trial you wish away, every tear you suppress, every wound you deny, is part of the path. Through pain, character is formed. Through pain, faith is refined. Through pain, you discover what you really believe when nothing seems to support you. You will wonder whether God still hears you when prayers seem to go unanswered. You will wonder whether the dream was yours or illusion when losses accumulate, when doors close, when sunlight fades. In those darkest hours, that's when perseverance matters most, because faith without endurance is sterile. Faith only in the good times is shallow. Faith that walks only in the light, that curls back into shadows when cold touches the heart. It is not tested faith. Genuine perseverance does not count the cost only until it sees the cost. It goes on even when the cost becomes real. Let's speak of failure. You will try, you will push, you will reach, and yet you will fail. Not once, but many times. Plans collapse. Relationships you trusted break. Efforts you invested in yield no fruit, or bad fruit. People you counted on disappoint. You will make mistakes, you will sin, you will fall. Some failures will wound you deeply. Some will stain your memory. But failure is not the end if perseverance is your soul's framework. Failure is the furnace that purifies. It forces humility. It forces dependence. It teaches lessons that comfort could never teach. When disappointment bites, when overwhelming grief seems to shout louder than hope, you may be tempted to take shortcuts, to trade integrity for expedience, to settle for lesser dreams. But let the voice in you, the small still voice that first whispered the dream, remind you ongoingly, press on, hold fast, do not abandon. Perseverance is the hand that holds the flame when wind and rain threaten to snuff it out. If you release that hand, the flame dies, even if it appears to burn bright before. In your pain, guard against bitterness and discouragement. They are subtle, they creep in, they poison slowly. You will hear them, why me? This was unfair. I deserve better. Others have it easy. These voices can drown out the voice of faith if you allow them. But faith persists in spite of them. Faith says, I may not understand, but I trust. I may be broken, but I will not break. I may bleed, but I will still march. Faith holds the promise, even when the promise is not yet seen. You will sometimes walk alone, just you and your sorrow. No friend to comfort, no hand to hold, no cheering crowd, no visible affirmation. You look and see nothing, hear nothing. That is the hour when perseverance becomes sacred, because God often works in that thin place, in the wilderness, where the stars are your only witnesses. The desert is uncomfortable. The wound is raw, yet there roots grow deep. The soul learns to drink from wells unseen. The heart learns to trust by faith, not by touch. Faithful perseverance demands that you continue even when hope seems delayed. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but faith that believes hope, that believes the promise, that holds on though it feels delayed, produces inner strength. Do not abandon the image of what God whispered to you just because your timeline did not align with your expectations. The delay is not denial unless you quit. Keep preparing, keep fighting, keep believing, keep working, keep praying, keep worshiping in your pain. Part of your perseverance must include constant self-examination. Are you enduring for the right reasons? Is your heart still tethered to the dream God called you to? Or have you drifted towards seeking reward, recognition, comfort? Is your pursuit fueled by obedience or by vanity? When pain deepens, motives are exposed. Purity of purpose becomes both rare and precious. Fight for it. Confess your weaknesses, your fears, your turning inwards. Let pain strip away pretenses. Let perseverance purify your vision and reshape your motives. Pain teaches endurance. Endurance teaches hope. Hope does not disappoint, but the path is not instantaneous. It is long. It is dark. It is often ugly. It is often lonely. But in that path, in that darkness, in that loneliness, God's light shines more clearly to those who do not turn back. As you persist, what you believed starts to become more than belief. It becomes experience. It becomes testimony. It becomes proof to your heart that God is real, that your calling is true, that your sacrifice is not in vain. You will need spiritual disciplines, not because they are magic, but because they anchor you when everything else shakes. Prayer at midnight when the world sleeps, confession when pride clouds, fasting when the body screams for ease, worship when your emotions say nothing. These practices do not avoid pain, they walk into it. They clean the wounds, they mend what is torn, they strengthen what is weak. Perseverance is held up by faith practices, not by bravado. Community matters even when mountains loom. Brothers and sisters who know hardship, who speak truth, who do not flatter. Sometimes just one voice that says, I see you, keep going. Sometimes a hand offered in the dark, sometimes a shoulder to weep on. Gather where you can, lean on those who are genuine, but recognize ultimate perseverance is personal. When the last light goes out, when you stand alone, your faith alone must carry you. Therefore build your soul so it can stand. You must hold your gaze fixed always on the bigger picture, the promise, the purpose, the glory beyond. Pain is temporary, eternity is forever. The dreams you feel, the callings you walk, are bigger than you. Bigger than the small setbacks, the criticisms, the losses. Those will pass, but what you build in faithful endurance will produce fruit, not only for you, but for others, for generations, for the King. When you see only the short term, your heart quails. When you remember what you were made for, what society cannot strip, what time cannot steal, you find strength to stand. There will be moments of despair when shadows loom and you cannot find the next step. Do not curse the darkness, rather let it prove that you will walk by faith, not by sight. Moments when your body is weary, when your emotions are ragged, when your vision seems blurred. In those moments, whisper the promises you know, that God is near to the brokenhearted, that all things work together for those who love Him, that your endurance is not unnoticed. Sometimes that whisper is all the faith you have, but that whisper keeps the flame alive. Know, too, that perseverance through pain will expose your need more deeply than success ever could. Success often masks weakness. Pain reveals it. You may discover fears, insecurities, bitterness, pride you never suspected. Do not hide from these discoveries. Each revealed wound is an invitation to healing. Each cracked place is a channel for humility. Each insecurity, a space to trust more fully. Let the pain refine you more than your victories ever could. You will likely face discouragement from those closest to you. Those who love you may not understand your vision. They may urge you to choose the safer path. They may beckon you toward compromise. Let their words sting, but do not let them drive you. Ground yourself in your purpose. When those you expect to support you doubt, let God's word and your silent vow to endure be stronger. Persevere when misunderstood, when maligned, when pushed aside. That is the resistance which shapes you. There may be seasons when it feels like you are wasting, when you sow, water, wait, and see nothing. The soil seems barren. The work feels meaningless. Do not despise these seasons. They are not voids. They are incubators. Invisible roots are growing. Silent strength is built. Perseverance is proven in the waiting. The ground which seems dry may hold springs beneath. What you do unseen matters. What you refuse to abandon matters. Perseverance means choosing obedience in pain. Sometimes God asks you to obey when every part of you resists. Obedience when your heart protests. Obedience when the cost seems unfair. Obedience when it yields nothing visible. But obedience in such seasons solidifies your faith. It demonstrates that your dream is not about what you get, but about whose call you answer. It shows that your commitment is to faithfulness, not favor. When you obey in pain, you touch eternity. Let your pain not drive you to despair, but push you to deeper dependency. The muscle of faith is exercised in your weakness. The raw places become your thresholds to trust. When your arm is too weak, you reach out to Him. When your heart is too tossed, you cling to His promises. When your mind is mudded, you anchor on truth. The pain reveals that you have nothing in yourself, so that you may have everything in what sustains you beyond yourself. You will be tempted to justify quitting under various rationales. When it seems no results come, when life weighs heavier than you thought, when personal cost becomes more visible than promised reward, when you look at others and think their lives easier. But every memory of why you began, every word of promise that stirred your first resolve, every instance of grace that has brought you this far, they are not optional. They are fuel. Use them. Remind yourself. Draw from them. Let them steel your resolve. Faithful perseverance is not passive. It is active. It is choosing to continue in the struggle even when every signal says retreat. It is leaning into pain rather than hiding, working in darkness rather than quitting early, trusting when nothing seems trustworthy. It is keeping your hands at work and your heart full of hope. It is showing up every day, even when the body is weak, even when the spirit trembles. Perhaps the most decisive mark of faithfulness in pain is consistency. Not one ferocious moment, not one dramatic public stand, but the quiet, daily decision to go on. The ones who win are often the ones who simply refuse to give up. They do not always hear applause. They do not always feel revival. They do not always see fruit, but they persist. They keep their feet on the path, day after day after day. The pain will also teach patience. Impatience is the enemy of endurance. It whispers, "Why hasn't it happened yet?" It pressures you toward shortcuts. It tempts you to compare your journey to others. But faith that endures learns that God's timing is perfect even when it feels painfully slow. It understands that what is being done in the sleeper cells of your soul, growth, forming, refining, takes seasons unseen. Be patient in the process. Let your endurance stretch you. You will receive scars. Deep, visible scars, invisible scars, scars from losses, from rejection, from toil, but scarred not shamefully, not regretfully, not in despair, but with dignity. Let the scars mark you as one who has walked through fire, one who has bowed before adversity, and yet still stands. Let them remind you of what you refuse to surrender, your faith, your integrity, your love for the dream. And in those scars, find praise for what God has done, what He is doing, what He will do. There is a promise in Scripture that those who endure to the end will be saved, not salvation merely of soul, but the glory that comes at the end of the race, the weight of eternal reward, the testimonies that echo beyond time. Those rewards are unseen now, often spoken of in whispers, yet they are sure. Let that certainty, even when buried beneath your griefs, lift your heart. Let your perseverance be anchored not in what your eyes see, but in what your soul knows, what your spirit clings to. When faith perseveres through pain, it teaches others. You may not see who watches, you may not see who is encouraged, but your endurance becomes a beacon. Your walk through suffering becomes testimony. Your faithfulness when unseen becomes a story of courage for someone still at the beginning, someone tempted to give up. Let that thought sustain you. You are not only living for yourself, you are living for the multiplied thousands who will be strengthened by what you refuse to abandon. Sometimes perseverance through pain demands that you accept seasons of ambiguity, not knowing what tomorrow holds, not seeing the way, but still stepping forward, trusting the next step without map, living by faith's permission to move, even when all seems dark. It demands trust in God's character over your feelings. It demands that you believe integrity matters even when it seems invisible. It demands that you obey even when reward is hidden. Let the pain mold your gratitude. Sometimes in the very middle of trial, when you have little else, you bear a heart that still says thank you. Thank you for breathing. Thank you for grace. Thank you for the dream even when it costs. Thank you for those moments of support, for flickers of light, for tiny mercies. Gratitude in pain is a powerful weapon. It pushes back despair. It reminds your soul that you have not pursued in vain, that all is not lost. You may see others discouraged, failing, quitting. Do not be swayed by the crowd's retreat. Do not see the many who give up as evidence that your path is wrong. Rather, see them as warnings of what happens when faith is shallow, when perseverance is lacking. Let their departure drive you deeper. Let their quitting be a cause for solemn awareness that the cost is higher than you thought, that sacrifice is more central, that perseverance through pain is rarer, and therefore more needed than most imagine. Let your perseverance be anchored in Scripture, in promise, in pledge. Hold on to the word God spoke over your life. Let that promise be the lamp in the darkness. Let His faithfulness in past seasons remind you that He will be faithful still. When memory of past grace extinguishes, renew your mind with truth. Read, meditate, speak aloud the covenant promises. Let them bind you when your resolve wobbles, when fear presses, when despair coaxes you to surrender. Faithful perseverance through pain is essential because without it the dream dies, not by external force alone, but by tiny internal compromises. Compassion for your own comfort will erode vision. Tolerance for gradual shrinking will steal hope. Tendency to avoid discomfort will sidetrack your destiny. Only those who persevere in pain keep their dreams alive. There will come seasons when perseverance seems foolish, when everyone else has moved on. When your dream appears dead, but do not let your faith be governed by what visible success is happening. Let it be dictated by what you believe deep down. Let the inner conviction, the whispered calling, the obedient heart, be stronger than the absence of external affirmation. You are called to endure, to persist, to fight even when flesh fails, when emotions burn, when hope seems small. You must refuse the temptation to quit early, to settle for lesser dreams, to trade faithfulness for ease. Your perseverance is not just about finishing, it is about becoming the person God means you to be through the hard places, through the trials, through the pain. In the gauge of eternity, your enduring matters. Not the convenience of quitting, not the comfort of retreat, but the glory of finishing well. Let your soul commit to endure even when hope is a whisper, even when the load seems unbearable, even when your heart trembles. Let your faith outlast your fear. Let your persistence through pain be more glorious than any moment of ease.